the first thing you notice isn't the reels. It's the hum, the layered chimes, the soft whoosh of air, the carpet that swallows footsteps so time can slip past unnoticed. You pick a machine because the chair looks inviting, and the screen is bright. That's exactly how the room wants you to think. Decades of floor design and human behavior testing have taught casinos a simple truth. If you choose emotionally, you'll play longer and sloppier. I learned this watching players sprint to the first open cabinet near the entrance. Pockets full, plan vague. They weren't losing to the math yet. They were losing to the room. Even small cues, a near-miss animation, a bonus meter just shy of full, a bank of popular themes placed along a busy aisle, are there to nudge you into decisions you didn't plan to make. You don't need secret blueprints to see it. You just need to pause before you sit. Ask, what's the denomination? What's the max bet? What's the patable actually promising? Because here's the part most players never realize. Your first choice commits you to a speed and a volatility level. Pick wrong, and you'll mistake luck swings for signals from the machine. Have you ever noticed how the music swells right when you think about cashing out? That's not accidental. Pro player move. Stand behind the chair for 10 seconds. Read the pay table. Note denomination and max bet. Decide your session rules on your phone. Then sit or walk. Your control starts before the first spin. You sit, tap, spin, and only then notice the denomination. 5 minutes later, your bankroll is melting because every press is 3 times what you thought. I watched this mistake nightly. Players focus on the theme or the bonus teaser and forget the 2 numbers that decide the pace of loss: denomination and cost per spin. On many cabinets, a $1 denom with 50 lines at 2 credits per line quietly turns into $100 in just a few pushes. And while exact RTP isn't posted on most floors, there's a pattern seasoned staff know. Higher denominations typically target higher payback, but the swings can feel sharper if you're betting too much per spin. The trap is speed. Slots resolve fast, so a small misread becomes an expensive habit in minutes. But here's what most players never notice. Volatility is hinted right in front of you. Sparse line counts, big top prizes, long bonus build-ups, those are signs of a bumpier ride. Lower variance machines advertise frequent small hits and simpler patables. If you're serious, you don't guess. You pick the ride that matches your plan. Imagine this. 2 players start with $200. One chooses a penny denom but sets 300 spins at 60 cents, tracking results every 50 presses. The other drifts between $1.80 and $6. When it feels right, guess who lasts longer and learns something useful? Pro player move. Before you sit, say the numbers out loud. Denom lines, credits per line, total bet. Set a ceiling for cost per spin that preserves your session length. Have you ever caught yourself playing a stake you didn't intend? Next, let's tackle the myth that louder, busier machines mean better chances. Gain how placement tricks your judgment. You've seen it. The machine that's basically a light show at a rock concert. Wedged on a busy aisle where everyone can glance at your screen. People assume the hotspot must be intentional better hits to attract a crowd. The truth is more boring and more dangerous. These positions are designed for visibility, not generosity. Our games sell the dream. They broadcast wins, amplify music, and create the impression that action lives here. Meanwhile, the house edge doesn't soften because the cabinet faces foot traffic. If anything, the constant movement around you makes it easier to play faster, miss payable cues, and blow past the stop you promised yourself. I learned to watch for attention engines, tall cabinets near entrances, licensed themes by the bar, curved banks near the cashier line. They're sticky people. Pause, watch, and wander in. Some titles use frequent celebratory sounds for tiny net losses, what we call losses disguised as wins, so your brain cheers while your credits tick down. Bright cabinet, busy hallway, big noises. None of that improves the math. But here's the part most players never realize. Quiet alcoves often host the same titles without the overstimulation tax. Fewer distractions, clearer decisions. You can actually read the patable without someone bumping your chair. Pro player move. Scout with your feet first. Walk the floor once without gambling. Circle to quieter banks with the exact title you like. Compare their denominations and line structures. Then choose the station that lets you think. Have you ever noticed you press faster when people watch? Next, we'll dismantle the near-miss illusion why your brain treats almost wins like fuel, and how casinos lean into that reflex. A diagonal row of bonus symbols thuds into place to line up perfectly. The third stops just 1 notch above. Your chest lifts. It's close. You tell yourself. You lean in and chase. That surge isn't superstition. It's wiring. Psychologists call it the near-miss effect. Almost wins fire parts of your brain, similar to actual wins, nudging you to keep going. Slot designers know this, and many games dramatize the just-missed moment with slow reels, teasing sounds, and animations that linger. But here's what most players never notice. The math didn't get warmer because your emotions did. Each spin is an independent event pulled from a random number generator. The last result, thrilling or terrible, doesn't bend the next one's odds. I used to watch players hit 3 or 4 almost bonuses in a short burst and believe the game was warming up. What really happened? Variance produced a cluster. The animations sold a story. You can test this yourself. After a near miss, the paddable and rules don't change, and the probability of the next bonus remains the same. If anything, the spectacle encourages faster betting and higher wagers exactly when your judgment is tilted. Picture 2 paths. On one, you chase that third symbol, doubling your bet just for a few spins. On the other, you pause, breathe, and reset your pace. Guess who preserves more control? Pro player move. When a near miss hits, lock your button hand. Count to 5. Check your session tracker. If your pace or bet size drifts after near misses, reduce by 1 step for the next 10 spins. Have you ever felt due after a tease? Next, we'll shatter the hot and doom with entirely why streaks seduce you, and how independence actually works in your favor. You feel it in the room sometimes, the hum changes, seats fill, and someone whispers, "This bank is hot." A few minutes later, a neighbor hits a bonus, and your brain connects dots that aren't there. Here's the plain truth from the back office. Slots don't keep score. Each spin is a fresh pull from a random number generator cycling through numbers thousands of times per second. The reel you just watched stop has no memory of how generous or stingy the last 10 spins were. That due feeling, it's the gambler's fallacy, wearing neon. I watched players talk themselves into bigger bets after cold patches. "It owes me," they'd say. And then the pace doubled. Streaks exist, you'll see clusters of wins or losses, but they're artifacts of variance, not momentum. Flip a coin 10 times and you'll see runs of heads. That doesn't mean the coin warmed up. Same logic here, just wrapped in lights, music, and themed graphics that imply a story. But here's what most players never notice. Independence is your ally. When each event is fresh, you can reset without penalty. You don't have to ride a cold period out, and you don't have to escalate because the room feels hot. You can pause, recenter, and pick a pace that fits your plano the very next press. Pro player move. Treat every spin like a new session. If you catch yourself saying do, stop for 60 seconds. Take 5 deep breaths, and drop your bet 1 level for the next 20 spins. Ask yourself, are you reacting to noise or following a rule? Next, we'll tackle progressives and must-hit by meters, why they look ripe, and how to tell when the math actually favors you. You spot a progressive with a big, glowing promise. Must hit by $500. The meter sits at $468, and your pulse jumps. Feels like free money, right? Here the insider view. Progressives siphon a small slice of every bet to feed that meter. The base game still has its own payback, and the progressive is just a layer on top. On must-hit by versions, the jackpot is guaranteed before a ceiling, say $500, but it can pop at $312, $438, or anywhere in between. The edge only tilts your way when the meter is sufficiently close to the cap that the added expected value outweighs the house edge in the base game. Translation: chasing at $421 because it looks close is usually negative. Hunting at $492 might be worth a look if the denomination, bet size, and your session plan align. But here's what most players never notice. The cost per spin matters more than the meter if your bankroll is short. A high denomination must-hit can eat 30 to 60 spins before resolving anything meaningful, and you may not last long enough to realize that extra value. Also, some banks have multiple linked cabinets. More players means the meter rises fast, but it also means someone else might claim it before you. Picture 2 choices. You sink into a $2 denom at $486 and burn out in 5 minutes. Or you find a lower stake version at $495 and grind patiently. Which path actually lets you leverage the meter? Pro player move. Set a personal trigger, only consider must-hit progressives within the top 1 to 2% of the range, for example. 490 plus on a $500 cap, and only if your bankroll covers at least 200 bets. Snap a photo. Track typical pop ranges at your local. Have you ever logged where these jackpots usually fall? Next, we'll decode loyalty myths, comps, cards, and why playing rated helps when you're disciplined. You sign up, swipe the card, and a host smiles like you've been granted backstage access. Comps feel like free value buffets. Rooms, match play, but here's the truth I watched from the pit. The card dose in T. Change the payback on your machine. It tracks coin in and on device to estimate your theoretical loss Theo, then returns a fraction back as perks. If your Theo is $100, maybe you'll see $20, $30 worth of comps over time. That's fine if you were going to play anyway. It's dangerous if the chase for status nudges you to bet more, play longer, or maintain tier. Free isn't free when it's funded by higher risk. But here's what most players never notice. Playing rated is a tool, not a strategy. Used correctly, it formalizes your discipline. Used emotionally, it becomes an excuse to ignore stop rules. Hosts love predictable players who overstay for the next buffet. Smart players treat the card like a receipt, proof of play, not permission to keep spinning. Quick example. 2 players, each budget $300. One refuses the card so the casino 1T track me and still burns through it. The other swipes, keeps to a 90-minute plan, and walks with a small loss, plus a future room. The difference wasn't the plastic, it was the plan. Pro player move. Always play rated, but decouple comps from decisions. Set your exit first, then swipe. Track your average bet and session length so your Theo doesn't creep. Ask the host what your real comp percentage is, then decide if the perk is worth staying. Have you ever pushed past your stop just to hit a tier? Next, we'll dismantle bet max, or don't play, when it makes sense, when it doesn't, and how volatility hides inside that button. You've heard it at the casino bar. If you're not betting max, you're wasting time. It sounds bold, decisive, like a shortcut to bigger wins. Here's the reality from behind the screens. Bet max is a volatility lever, not a generosity switch. Some games require a maximum wager to unlock a top feature like progressive eligibility or enhanced multipliers. Many others simply scale linearly, double the bet, double the payout scale. Same underlying math. If the payable doesn't promise extra features at max, pressing that button just accelerates variance and burn rate. I once watched two players sit side by side on the same title. One fired max to wake it up, the other played a measured wager that fit 300 to 400 spins. 10 minutes in, the max bettor looked alive, big celebratory screens. Yet their credit meter declined faster because many wins were smaller than the risked amount. Losses disguised as wins. The steady player rode the same game long enough to reach natural bonus cycles without panic-raising bets. But here's what most players never notice. Patables often note when max unlocks something unique, progressive, extra wilds, or a bet multiplier bonus tier. If that text isn't there, your expected value per dollar stays roughly proportionate while your volatility spikes. Pro player move. Read the patable for max-only perks. If the only difference is larger numbers, choose a wager that buys you 2 MAME for 200 to 300 planned spins per session. On max-only progressives, step up only if your bankroll can handle the variance. Have you ever chased max on a game that didn't require it? Next, we'll talk speed Y button tapping and rapid-fire play quietly crush bankrolls, and how to slow the game without losing the fun. Your thumb learns the rhythm before your brain does. Tap tap, tap lights flare, credits blink, and a quiet hour disappears. Speed is the invisible edge. Slots can resolve hundreds of decisions per hour. Even a small house advantage compounds fast when you multiply it by average bet and the number of spins. That's the math most players never consider. Expected loss equals edge times bet size times decisions. Tap faster, and you're quietly turning up the drain. I used to watch button mashers celebrating constant activity. The game helped quick reels, snappy sound cues, wins that look and sound big even when they're smaller than your wager. Those losses disguised as wins keep your dopamine high, and your pace even higher. Meanwhile, the player in the next seat sips a drink, lets the reels fully stop, reads the patable again, and takes a breath before each choice. Same machine, same math, different hourly cost because of tempo. But here's what most players never notice. You can design your speed. You can bake pauses into your routine without killing the fun. Simple tools: counting to 3 after each spin, standing every 50 presses, silencing celebration sounds, lower decisions per hour, and stretch your bankroll long enough to actually see the game's features. Imagine 2 sessions with identical budgets. One logs 600 spins and leaves numb. The other logs 300, hits 2 bonuses, and still has focus left to make a good exit. Which one feels lucky? Pro player move. Set a spin cadence. Aim for a maximum spins per minute target, for example, 5 to 6. Add a 5-breath reset after any bonus. And schedule a 2-minute stand-up every 50 spins. Have you ever timed your pace? Next, we'll build your bankroll rules: session size, loss limits, and a cash-out plan that protects your best moments. Your best spin happens before you touch the button, when you decide how much of your bankroll is on the line today. Most players reverse it. They sit first, budget later, and then find out what they spent by watching the credit meter evaporate. Here's the framework pros use. Separate your total gambling money from your session stake. If you've brought $600 for the weekend, today's session might be $200, split into 2 $100 bullets. Each bullet has a stop loss and a targeted exit. You're not trying to beat the casino. You're trying to beat sloppy decisions. I watched one regular write 3 numbers on a sticky note: session buy-in, pain line, and a walk proud cash out. If he hit the pain line, say, down 40%, he stood up, no debate. If he jumped ahead by a preset amount, may high be 50% or one nice bonus, he printed the ticket and pocketed half, converting credits to cash before the emotions could rewrite the plan. The magic isn't the percentages. It's that the rules exist before the noise starts. But here's what most players never notice. Bankroll rules need to match volatility. A bumpy game demands smaller bets, or a wider stop to survive droughts without tilting. A steadier game can handle tighter boundaries. Picture yourself with 2 tickets, one live, one locked. The locked one doesn't go back, and that's future you saying thanks. Pro player move. Pre-write 3 numbers. Bin stop loss. Cash out and take a photo. Keep a second wallet pocket for cashed out tickets only. Have you ever promised to leave ahead and then fed the voucher back? Next, we confront the sunk cost trap. Why? Getting even is the most expensive goal on the floor, and how to switch machines without chasing. You're down, staring at the credit meter like it owes you an apology. The thought sneaks in, if I can just get back to even, I'll leave. That's the sunk cost trap, treating past losses as a bill the next spin should pay. Slots don't settle tabs. Each press is a fresh decision with the same underlying edge, and getting even pushes you into bigger bets, longer sessions, and messier judgment. I've watched smart people torch a perfectly sensible plan because their last 100 felt heavier than their first. They weren't playing the machine anymore. They were playing their feelings. Here's a better way. Evaluate the current choice only. Would you take this exact bet, on this exact title, at this exact pace, if you had just walked in with a fresh ticket? If the answer is no, you're chasing. Switching machines doesn't fix sunk costs. Either if you carry the same mission into the next chair, you aren't due because you suffered. You're vulnerable because you suffered. Imagine two paths. On the left, you double your wager to speed up recovery, then tilt when the bonus doesn't land. On the right, you pause, cash the remaining ticket, and restart with a new bullet and fresh rules, or you call it for the day. Only one path protects decision quality. Pro player move. Write a reset question on your phone. If I were even, would I take this bet? When you're down 30 to 50%, stand, cash out, and take a 10-minute walk before any seat change. Have you caught yourself machine hopping to get back? Next, we build a real reset. Strategic breaks and mental time boxes, the easiest edge most players never track. You don't notice fatigue until the decisions get louder. The room feels warmer, the chair softer, and your thumb starts pressing the spin button before you've finished a thought. That's why casinos remove clocks and windows. The environment blurs the edges of time. But here's what most players never notice. Mental stamina is a bankroll. When it's gone, you'll override every rule you wrote at the bar. I used to watch sharp players go fuzzy after an hour. Bets drifted, stop losses became guidelines, and patience vanished the moment a near miss flashed. Design breaks the way you design bets. Use time boxes, short, intentional blocks with a reset ritual. For example, 25 minutes on, 5 off. During the 5 you stand, hydrate, look at your notes. No spins, no one more. Every 2 cycles, take a longer break, leave the floor, see daylight. Text someone your status. If that sounds extreme, consider the math. A 5-minute pause every half hour removes dozens of decisions at the exact moment your judgment wobbles. That's less edge paid to the house and more room to spot mistakes. A casino host once told me their favorite players were the ones who never left the chair. Easy to comp, easy to predict. Don't be easy. Build exits. Alarms on your phone, a sticky note on the bill validator that reads breath, even noise-canceling earbuds to cut celebration sounds. Your job is to protect clarity. Pro player move. Set 2 alarms before you sit, one for a 25th cycle, one for a 90-minute hard stop. On every break, write 3 numbers. Current credits, total in, total out. Have you ever felt sharper after a 2-minute walk? Next, we decode patables and volatility ladders, how to read a game's personality, so you pick machines that fit your plan, not your impulses. Every slot has a personality, and it's printed in plain sight. You just have to learn the language. Start with the patable big top prizes, with tiny mid-tier wins, usually signal higher volatility. Chase longer droughts for a chance at a burst. Patables with lots of small, frequent pays hint at a steadier ride. Line structure matters too. Traditional line games 20, 40, 50 lines let you adjust credits per line. Ways games 243, 1024, etc. Cover combinations and often feel streakier because they trade line control for hit frequency patterns. If a game advertises stacked wilds, hold and spin features, or build up bonus meters, expect longer waits between events and larger swings when they land. Denomination is your second decoder. In many markets, higher denoms are configured with higher target paybacks, but they also multiply risk per press. Because casinos rarely post exact RTP on the cabinet, you read clues instead. Is the game licensed and flashy, often pricier volatility? Or a classic math-forward title with simple symbols, often steadier? Are there max bet-only enhancements? If progressive eligible at max or boosted bonus at higher wagers appears in the help screens. Remember, you're choosing variance as much as value. But here's what most players never notice. Machine menus show hit frequencies for features in vague terms. Frequent, moderate, rare. Those adjectives are your early warning system. Match them to your session length. Pro player move. Build a quick volatility ladder in your notes. Low equals frequent small hits. Moderate equals balanced features. High equals rare features plus big top awards. Pick the rung that fits your bankroll and time box, not your mood. Have you ever mapped your favorite games ladder? Next, we'll wrap everything into a simple checklist, the mindset shift that keeps you in control, and the responsible play rules that outlast luck. Before you walk onto the floor, picture a pilot's pre-flight. No drama, just a checklist. Serious slot play deserves the same calm. Start with identity. Are you here to entertain yourself or to test discipline? If you can't answer, the room will answer for you. Next is bankroll. Total budget. session stake, number of bullets, then game fit, volatility ladder rung, denomination lines, ways, max bet perks. After that, pace, target spins per minute, break schedule, alarm set. Finally, exits, stop loss, walk proud, cash out, and a hard time cap. 5 boxes. If you can't tick one, you don't sit. Here's the part most players never realize. A checklist isn't about perfection, it's about recovery. You will feel the near miss. You will hear the aisle roar. You will want to press faster after a cold patch. The checklist gives you somewhere to return when the room tries to write your story for you. I watched a quiet regular keep a card in his wallet. Every 20 minutes he'd tap it with his thumb identity. Bankroll, fit, pace, exits, and his face would relax. He wasn't fighting urges. He was following a plan he trusted. Try this flow tonight. Walk, read, decide, sit, play, pause, review, exit. 8 beats that keep your decisions linear. When emotions zigzag. Pro player, move. Print a wallet-sized card with your 5 boxes and 8 beats. Before the first spin, take a photo of it on the machine's screen. If you drift, open that photo and start at identity again. Have you ever used a written checklist in a casino? Up next, we land the plane. A responsible play close that protects your best future. Sessions end the moments you actually came here to enjoy. The best wins don't flash on a screen. They show up when you stand, pocket a ticket, and walk out clear-headed. That's the real endgame. If you take nothing else from this, remember the 7 never rules. Never sit without reading the numbers. Never mistake aisle noise for better odds. Never chase near misses or do streaks. Never overpay for a progressive that isn't near its edge. Never let comps rewrite your plan. Never hit max for ego instead of features. And never play faster than your judgment. Those aren't superstitions, they're guardrails that keep entertainment, fun, and the math contained. Here's the part most players never realize. Responsible play isn't anti-fun, it's pro-moment. When you time-box sessions, pre-write your exits, and choose volatility on purpose, you buy yourself something rare on a casino floor, memories you actually want. A quiet dinner after a good cash out. A laugh with a friend because you left when you said you would. No secret calls from the hosts can give you that. Only your rules can. Imagine tonight, you do 1 full lap. Pick your game like a pro. Set your pace, and follow your checklist. Win or lose on the reels, you win the night by leaving on your terms. Pro player move. Write a single sentence on your lock screen. Entertainment first, bankroll second, ego last. And read it before every sit. If gambling ever stops being fun, stop. Talk to someone you trust. Set longer breaks, or take a full reset. Have you ever walked away proud, not just ahead? That's the moment we play for. The floor feels like midnight, no matter the hour carpet. Swallowing footsteps, lights rising and falling like a tide. The soft heartbeat of reels stopping in every direction. You slide into a chair you didn't plan to choose. Why this one? Because it was open, loud, and smiling at you. That's the first move the room wants. Act fast, think later. I used to stand at the edge of the pit and watch the same pattern swallow smart people tiny mistakes in the first minute. That decide the next hour. Not cheating, not rigging, just design meeting human habit. You'll hear a win 3 banks over, feel the near miss tug your chest. And before you know it, your pace has doubled, your plan dissolved, and the machine feels personal. But here's the promise tonight, we're going to break that pattern. 7 never rules that serious players follow, not to beat the math, but to beat the sloppiness the room is counting on. Keep the entertainment, keep your edge, keep your exit. Ready to see the floor the way a pit boss does? Good, because the first mistake happens before you press spin when you don't read what the screen is quietly telling you. The room will try to keep you here, no clocks, no windows, music for tiny wins, dressed as celebrations. But your night should end on your terms. Take one last look at the screen, and remember why you sat down, not to win the building, but to play well enough that you can walk out clear, proud, and ready for tomorrow. The 7 never rules aren't superstition, they're your guardrails. Never sit without reading denom lines. And total bet. Never confuse I'll flash for better odds. Never chase near misses, or believe you're due. Never overvalue a progressive unless the MIT meter truly tilts EV. Never let comps talk you into one more session. Never hit max just for ego. Never outpace your judgment with frantic tapping. A casino host once told me their toughest guests were the quiet ones who stood up right after a great bonus. Why? Because they already decided what enough looked like before they started. That can be you. Cash the voucher, pocket a portion, and leave the floor with your story intact. If the session ran cold, honor your stop and reset away from the lights. Entertainment first, bankroll second, ego last. Pro player move, make the exit visible. Pocket half of any big hit immediately. Text your walk proud number to a friend before you play. And schedule your next visit only after you've reviewed your notes. Have you ever left right after a peak and felt lighter walking to the car? That's controlling. It's the one edge the house can't comp, cap, or take back.